To go ahead and get started. I wanted to first go ahead and just kind of introduce our host for today. My name is Lyndon. I'm a customer success manager at Follow Up Boss. And over the past 5 years, I have been surrounding myself in the world of online lead conversion. Working with many top tier clients across the entire country, I've had the opportunity to see what really proves to be successful when it comes to mastering online lead conversion. Joining me today is my colleague and co-host, Josh. Josh, I wanted to let's go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Lyndon. Really excited to share this content today. I work as an onboarding specialist on our team here and help agents, whether it's a solo or a team of 100 agents and transaction coordinators, get up and running with Follow Up Boss and evaluate your strategy and workflows and ensure that you guys are getting the most out of the system and helping you grow and build your business. So this content today is going to be really valuable for everybody that's joining. Really excited to share. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in.
So today we're going to give you the tools to conquer the first phone call to those buyer lead inquiries. As real estate agents, having that first phone call with an online lead is so important. Such a huge way to generate business as we live in a world where answers to our questions are just a click away. And if we don't get the answers, we tend to go elsewhere. I am sure most of you have heard the importance of speed to lead. If we are not calling or texting back in the matter of minutes, good chances we are going to lose that lead. However, it's not that easy. It's not easy to drop everything as soon as the phone rings. As an agent, you are pulled in a million different directions. Open houses, showings, team meetings, personal life, and then suddenly the phone rings. Now you need to switch mindsets and have a conversation with someone you have never spoken to before. And they are more than likely calling on a property you know nothing about. Tough, right? Well, today we're here to make this tough situation as easy as possible.
That makes my life a little easier. It's exciting to hear. So to get the most out of this webinar today, be sure that you stick around for the end. We're going to have a quick Q&A session. I'm sure you guys will have lots of questions about this content. We'd love to answer those questions. We've also got some bonus content. So even if you don't have questions at the end, stick around. Lyndon is going to share some really powerful tips that I'm sure that you will be happy that you stuck around for. Also, it's really important to take immediate action. You're only going to benefit from what you learned today if you put it to work. We'll be sharing a powerful script to use in your phone conversations. This will require practice. So the quicker you perfect the script, the quicker that you will see results. And lastly, trust the process. What we're sharing today, it's not just a theory. It's a proven method that we see successful teams and agents use on a daily basis. Using what you learned today will cause you to earn more money and grow your business.
So today's goal is simple, and that is to learn how to master the first phone conversation and convert more online leads. We will accomplish this goal by learning how to set more successful first appointments, how to stop chasing bad leads, and how to convert your leads into more closings. So as we get started, we want to hear from you. In order to do this, we want to go ahead and launch a poll. So Josh, what's today's poll question?
Yeah, we'd like to hear from you guys. It looks like our poll section here in Zoom is not working, but we just want you guys to think about, if you were to be able to perfect your phone conversations, how many more transactions could you close in the next 12 months? If you're better on the phone, how much more money could you make? Think about it for a second. If you want to type it into Q&A here in Zoom, we'd love to hear that response. Maybe it's, hey, I'm doing really good on the phone. I think it's not really going to change the deal. Or you're probably here because you think you could change. It looks like Christy thinks she could probably close 45 more deals with being better on the phone. Brian says 10 to 12. Lots of really good answers. 50% more deals, 25, 40 more deals. Lots of really big numbers coming in. So I know that's one of the toughest challenges I face is when I get an inbound call, especially if I'm not ready for it, man, it can be so difficult. So I'm hearing from you guys that you're facing the same challenge. We hear this from people day in, day out. If I was better on the phone, especially for those inbound calls that I'm not ready for, I think I could close a lot more deals. Matt says 40 plus. Anthony says probably 50% more. So this is going to be really powerful. So let's go ahead and get started here, and let's learn a little bit how we can learn more here. So let's start off with a little role play. I know most of you would rather pull your hair out than do role play. I quite enjoy it. I think it helps me grow and learn, but it can be a little awkward at times. But during this role play, we're going to address the most common issue and struggle in answering a buyer online lead inquiry. Somebody calls you about a property, has a question, you're not ready for it. How do you handle that? This role play will consist of a consumer who found a listing online and has a few questions about the property. And that's really all we know. So Lyndon's going to be the client, and I'm going to be the agent.
Ring, ring.
Hi, this is Josh from Bright Star Realty. How can I help you?
Yeah, Josh, I was calling because of 123 Main Street. I saw it online.
Sure. What questions do you have?
Yeah, well, I was curious about the fence in the backyard.
Okay, yeah, there's a fence there.
Yeah, so can you tell me how high the fence is? I have dogs.
Um, I'm really not sure, but let me check.
Okay, well, actually, so you need to check? Okay, well, you know what? I can see I found my answer here online, so never mind. I'm okay. Thanks for your time.
Okay, well, that went awful. What went wrong in this role play? What went wrong on that call? The agent lost credibility and wasn't able to convert the lead because they were focused on the property and not the client.
This is a very typical conversation and a common error. If you take anything away from this webinar, take what I'm going to give you right now. One of the strongest teams that I have ever worked with, and the reason I say strongest is they are closing online leads at an incredible rate. They told me that they have never once closed on the listing the consumer originally inquired on. They understand how to turn that consumer into a client of theirs. So the goal of the first phone call is to get the conversation away from 123 Main Street as quickly as possible. Discussions about the backyard of a property that you know nothing about will cause you to lose control of the conversation and start losing credibility. In addition, it is tying you to the property and only that specific property. So if 123 Main Street does not work out for this consumer, bye-bye you as the agent. What you heard during our first role play is what is going to happen 90% of the time if you're trying to help answer questions about the listing. So how do we get the call away from the property when we know that is what the consumer wants to talk about? It comes down to 3 open-ended questions. As I give you these 3 questions, think of our previous role play and what went wrong. This is the nuts and bolts of our discussion today. So for those of you taking notes, make sure you write these down. The first question, as soon as you get the chance, you are inquiring about 123 Main Street. When would you like to go see it? When you ask this question, you are giving the consumer what they want. When you give someone what they want, it allows you to circle around and get what you need moving forward, meaning the ability to ask more questions. It tells the consumer that I just called the right person, as opposed to the agent who is searching and trying to pull up the listing, all while not having the answers, losing credibility, and tying themselves to that listing. However, I often get a lot of pushback when I give this question to a client. The fear is, what if I can't show the house? What if it is no longer available? I don't even know this person. Do I want to meet with this person? Remember, you are not committing to anything when you ask this question, nor are you running out the door and showing them this home. All you are doing is giving them the hook to start communication and to give you control. No matter what the response is, to when would you like to see it, you will always have the ability to ask your next question. What else would you like to see? When you ask this question, you quickly sell yourself by saying, I can show you 123 Main Street, but I can also show you everything else in the area. What do you want it to be? Once again, the consumer now knows they called the correct agent. Third question, what interests you about this property? When you ask this question, you quickly pull motivation from the lead. When you pull motivation from someone, I promise you they start talking. And when they start talking, what are you doing? You're listening. Because in reality, what they're actually looking for is a swimming pool, a school district, a neighborhood. All of this comes out and opens the conversation, which is where we now can start adding value, building rapport, and most importantly, helping this client move closer to purchasing their home. So that's it. That's your script. Simple, right? It is. It is, and it's designed to be simple. These calls, as we all know, never come at the perfect time. So the easier you can make it, the more results you will see.
Wow, that is so powerful, and I'm going to start using that right away. So for our next role play, let's hear this script in action. This time, Lyndon will be the agent, and I'll be calling about the property. Ring, ring, ring.
Hi, this is Lyndon from XYZ Realty.
Hi, Lyndon. I'm calling about 123 Main Street.
Sounds good. When do you want to go see it?
Oh, how about 5 today?
Great. Let me check availability. I'm actually away from my desk right now. I can go see if it's open at 5 o'clock, and I'll follow right back up with you. But before I do that, is there anything else you would like to see?
Probably not. I really just wanted to check out this house.
Oh, great. You must really like it. Well, what interests you about this property?
Oh, yeah, it looks really great. It's got a big backyard, it looks like, and a fence. I've got some dogs, so I just want to make sure that they can run around.
Oh, great. So fenced-in backyard is important. How many dogs do you have?
I've got 2 huskies.
Oh, I have a dog as well. Well, since you mentioned it, I know of some other properties in this area with fenced-in backyards that have a similar price range. Why don't we do this? I still need to check availability, but tomorrow, come to my office around 10 a.m. From there, we can go over all of your options, form a plan, go ahead, and get started. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
End of role play. And I know that obviously sounded very easy. That was also an example. You, of course, are going to get pushback, right? The answer is not always going to be, how about 5 o'clock today? Other answers will be, I don't know, I have more questions, or I'm not sure, I'm just starting the process. We can still tackle these objections the same way. For example, great, you have questions about the backyard? I will go ahead and gather that information. I'll get right back to you with everything you need to know about the backyard. But before I do that, what else would you like to see? So as you see, when you're asking the correct questions, you are starting to guide the conversation. If you guide the conversation, this allows you to steer the consumer down the right path as opposed to them steering you.
Awesome. And we just got a question about role playing with pushback, and I'm about to give a tip that will help out with that. So let's take a step back from the script for a moment and define our goal when we first connect with a new buyer lead over the phone. So we ask ourselves, what is my goal during that initial call? Above all else, we want to set an appointment and find out if it's someone worth our time. As you go through the 3 questions in the script, here's a checklist to help guide you through the conversation. This is what you can use if you get pushback. The checklist is an acronym called LP Mama, simple and easy to remember, and stands for location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, and appointment. This is not your script. However, as you ask the question, what else would you like to see? Here is where to start check off price, location, etc. without asking those questions directly. So when you ask the question, what interests you about the property, you'll learn their motivation. The more parts of LP Mama that is completed, the more successful you'll be in setting that first appointment. That's the golden goal. You might get halfway through the script and realize this person is not going to be buying a home. They're just clowning around on Zillow, and that's okay. It'll happen. But as we mentioned, if you're focusing on the listing or in the call, there's no way to know if this person is worth your time. So the acronym put into use will help you make that next inbound call convert into an appointment. Make it easy on yourself and leave this webinar with your 3 questions. As you ask those 3 questions, start checking off the bullet points of the LP Mama. Do this, and I assure you it'll lead to more closed deals and more first appointments. Really important that you take some action here. So role play with somebody in your office or family. Practice it, make mistakes, get some feedback. You want these 3 questions and LP Mama to become second nature. Role playing will get it imprinted in your mind so that it flows smoothly. And next time you get one of those inbound calls when you're at the grocery store or you're playing with your kids, you'll know exactly how to handle it and you'll feel very comfortable and confident. Lastly, let us know how things go. It's a really powerful tool and we just love to hear you guys' feedback. Did you get further with the lead? Did you set the appointment? Tell us about your stories. Did you get through the entire script? So without further ado, let's go ahead and open this up to some questions. We've got a few coming through already. If you don't have any questions, be sure to stick around till the end. We've got some really powerful bonus content that Lynn's going to share. Before I open it up to your guys' questions, a few flowing through here, you just type those into Q&A. Hit Q&A, type in your questions. We'll try to answer as many as possible. Before we get to those, I've got a question for you, Lyndon.
What's that?
So should we be using this script only for phone calls? A lot of people are texting me. Can I use it there?
The answer to that question is absolutely yes to texting. Obviously, this is a world that we live where texting is probably more used than phone calls. This script works just as well, if not better, via text. The nice part about when you're texting this script as well is it gives you a little bit of that time to think about your responses. So without a question, yes, this works very, very well when it comes to texting.
Awesome. We've got some questions coming through, and one here, Lyndon, I'm just going to kind of read these out loud for you to answer, and we can answer together. Any advice for someone that tells you they only want to speak to the listing agent?
So that's a great question, and that's a question that I do and I have seen a lot. And I think a lot of times is we have to focus on what are they actually looking for. A lot of times when they find these inquiries online, they're not exactly sure what the listing agent what the listing agent actually includes. So it's the continued effort of continuing to ask those 3 questions. When would you like to see it? Great. Well, if there's only the listing agent that you would like to see, is there anything else that you would like to see? Leading to your second question, what else would you like to see? If they still have that pushback with the listing agent, I promise you, you still have the ability to go through and to your third question, what interests you about this property? So a lot of times it's actually just educating the consumer and letting them know what it actually entails to speak to the listing agent as opposed to speaking to yourself.
Awesome. Great. Got another question here. This is a really common one that I hear all the time. What if there's already a pending sale on that property that they're calling about?
And that's fine because exactly what did we say during the role play, right? When would you like to see it? Great. You want to see it at 5 o'clock today? Hey, I'm away from my desk. I need to go back and see if it's even still available. So the thought of if we pull up that property and we're looking at it during that initial conversation, it's going to put red flags into us during that call. That's why I really stress the importance of not pulling up the listing because you don't want that thought of this property isn't for sale. So it's being very honest with the consumer. If you want to see it at 5 o'clock today, I need to see if it's still available and if I have the ability to show you that property. I'll get back to you on that. But before I get back to you, what else would you like to see?
Awesome. Now there are lots of few questions coming through. A really great one here I see is, what if they say they're kind of working with an agent, but they're not committed? They haven't signed any agreements yet. How do you handle that?
Yeah, though that's once again just forming more of a conversation. I think you need to dig a little bit more. And when it comes to digging, a lot of consumers just aren't educated in the process yet. Some of them might think their cousin's best friend is going to be their agent, right? Or they just might be saying, I'm working with another agent to actually get you off the phone. So it's an objection that you need to fight through. Once again, it goes back to the script. If we're focused on the listing, helping to answer questions, it's going to allow them to want to get off the phone with you quicker. But when you start with the questions, when would you like to see it? What else would you like to see? What interests you about this property? You form more of a conversation. Once again, what are we trying to do? All we're trying to do here is really build value and, most importantly, start a little bit of rapport with this consumer. They might already be working with another agent, but we will never know that if we don't take those 3 to 4 minutes and get that conversation started.
Awesome. Maria asks, what questions can I ask on the phone or via text if I'm calling old leads that have not yet converted but are still browsing?
Great question, Maria. And that kind of teases our next webinar a little bit, which is going to be more of nurturing your leads, nurturing your database, trying to engage those clients that you have not quite gotten on the phone yet. And that's actually going to be covered a little bit more in our bonus tips, kind of getting away from those check-in calls. I'm calling to check in, more call to action. And we're going to actually explain that here in our bonus tips. So you'll want to stick around for that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really great question that leads to the kind of nurturing those old leads.
Mm-hmm.
Another really good question here is a lot of times people are calling back on an inbound lead that came in, in Default Boss or an integration on a property, and they get the voicemail. So they're not actually talking to the person. Can we use this script on voicemail, Lyndon?
100%. I see that you were inquiring about 123 Main Street. Just curious about when would you like to go see it? There's your first question. That's the voicemail. Please don't leave the voicemail. And I hear it so frequently. I was calling back to see if you had any more, if there's any questions you have. Of course, they probably don't have any more questions because, once again, that's not value you're providing that consumer. They're going to find answers to those questions and they'll never pick up that call. But what they can't do is they can't go open the door to that home. By you saying, when would you like to see it, is giving them something they don't have. That at least is going to spark a little bit of a reason to call you back.
Yeah, that's really great. Got another question here about knowing if you've already called that lead. How do I got a list of people that have called about a property, or how do I know if I've called them? And that one I can take away for us, Lyndon, here. So in Follow Up Boss, you've got last communication and last call made fields. Those will automatically populate when you're logging your calls through Follow Up Boss, or if you have our calling feature enabled, it'll automatically do that for you. So you don't have to guess if you've called them already or when you last called them. That will show up in Follow Up Boss automatically. So another one here that's really powerful is when do you ask if they're already working with an agent?
You do want to ask that question, and you want to ask it fairly soon in the conversation. There's a lot of discussion on or questions on should I first set the appointment, or do I want to ask it during the first phone conversation? Once you start to get to the point where you feel like you are going to have the opportunity to work with this person, once you form that conversation and you've gone through your script and you've learned that they're looking for a swimming pool, a school district, a neighborhood, that allows the opportunity to ask more of that question. But once again, I want to make sure that you build a little value and rapport, because remember, the agent question is an objection. And remember, agent was part of LP Mama: location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, and appointment. So this is something that we want to unpack. I just challenge you to not unpack it by the direct question, are you working with another realtor? Pull it out of them. Ask more of those open-ended questions. Form the conversation. That'll help you that will teach you where they're at in the search. And I promise you that question is going to come out more than if you just directly ask it to them.
Yeah, they might kind of beat around the bush and say, well, I've worked with somebody, but not really pinned in. So a lot of times I think asking, how long have you been looking? Tell me a little bit about your search process.
Exactly
That way
right.
you can get the answer to those questions. One that kind of wraps into that, and we've got just a few more minutes for questions here. We have so many great questions coming in. I've got one that says, how much of that information should we try to get during the first call versus an appointment or showing?
How much of that? Ask that one more time, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so if we're getting through, I guess, LP Mama, or how much information are we wanting to gather from the lead? Should we try to get everything checked off on LP Mama before the first meeting or showing, or what's our goal there?
It's a nice reminder. It's a nice reminder of what you're trying to do. I always stress that it's okay to set that first appointment. It's okay to set that first appointment without going through LP Mama. Definitely during the first phone conversation, we're trying to get as much of that as possible. If you still feel this is a good opportunity to set the appointment, then maybe it's a time during the first appointment or during that first appointment when we're going to start to learn a little bit more about lender, mortgage, are they approved? So that's kind of it's up to you. It's up to you as you have that first conversation. But like I said, LP Mama is not necessarily need to be accomplished the entire time. It's just basically throughout that first conversation and the first appointment.
Yeah, and really remembering that ultimate goal is to get that face-to-face appointment. That's where you're going to do what you do best, build rapport and a connection with that client, and they're most likely to work with you at that point. So you only want to get information that's going to lead to that first appointment and tell you if this person is worth your time. So if after 2 questions you find, wow, they're a really motivated buyer, they kind of know what they're looking for, that's a time that you want to move them to that appointment. Then being face-to-face, you can get more information from them and qualify that lead.
That's
I've
exactly
also got
correct.
one other question here. If they say that they're working with an agent or perhaps had a fail with another agent or qualifier in LP Mama, what's the best way to churn that lead down? It's basically not waste your time with them.
And it's okay. It's give them the correct answers. Give them the tools. Point them towards that agent. Let them know that the agent that they're working with is their agent. So I think it's just important to be honest during these phone conversations. If you're honest and you don't have the ability to work with them, that is the important part of this first phone conversation. I don't want you wasting a lot of time with someone that isn't worth your time. And someone who is already working with another agent isn't necessarily worth your time because that isn't going to turn into your closed transaction. So getting more of that conversation started, I know I keep kind of going back to it, but getting that conversation started is going to allow you to know if this person isn't worth my time. And if they are working with another agent, like I just mentioned, they might not be worth your time.
Awesome. We've got time for one more question. This ties directly into LP Mama. At what point should you ask if they've been pre-approved or about their mortgage?
What I would say to that is we would never ask that during the initial first few questions, right? I would never say, are you pre-approved? A lot of times people think I need to ask that question right out of the gate. I know I kind of sound like a broken record here, but as you ask the script, remember what we're trying to do. All we're trying to do is start a conversation. When we start this conversation, we then have the ability to ask these tougher questions. What interests you about this property? They're going to start talking about their kids, their family, their job. You can now have that back and forth banter with this person, which is going to make it much, much easier to find out their situation. How are you going to be paying? Have you been pre-approved? Have you spoken to a lender? So after you form the conversation, gives you the ability to ask those tougher questions.
Awesome. And a lot of these questions, just remember, your goal is to get that first appointment. So you want to build rapport with them in a short way. Just build confidence. Yes, I can answer questions about that property and I can also show you others. Use your 3 questions, use LP Mama, and the rest will fall into place. Lyndon, before we let people go here, I've got a lot of people asking to see the LP Mama slide again. Let's go ahead and pull that up.
Yeah, sure.
And then we'll also be sending out this script and LP Mama to all of you here after the webinar today, as well as a recording, so you can review this with yourself or your team later on. We want you guys to have these tools in hand. It's not just a one-off thing. So this will be accessible later on. Here's LP Mama on the screen for you. Location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, and appointment. Let's also pull up that script again, those 3 questions one more time. And again, guys, we will be sending this out after today's session. Thanks everybody for your time today. Really hope this was helpful. Go ahead and start role-playing this right away. You've got somebody next to you or a family member when you get home, start role-playing with these 3 questions in LP Mama. It's gonna take a bit of practice, but I guarantee you that you're gonna see this help you close more first phone calls into appointments. Really powerful tool. And then also let us know how it goes. Give us your feedback. If you've got questions, we'd love to hear them. Awesome. Lyndon, you got anything else for us today?
You know, I think that's we're about out of time. There are a few bonus tips that I know we promised here at the end. So kind of nurturing your leads when we want to check back in with our leads, those leads that we're trying to re-engage. just a nice tip is to provide a little bit of value. And a good example of providing value is the reason for my call is. We're not calling just to say I'm checking in to see how things are going. I'm calling because. With that said, that's calling with a purpose. Calling with a purpose, having a reason for the call. And a nice line that I always really like to give to my clients is communicate information that is relevant to their search. A good example, hi, so-and-so. I realized that last time we spoke about 123 Main Street. I wanted to let you know that property is actually no longer available. However, 456 West Street, just down the street, is available. Are you able to go take a look? Giving them a reason to want to answer the call. That really helps kind of set up our next webinar, which is going to be nurturing your leads, a little bit in front of you on the screen here. With that said, I appreciate everyone's time. I think we've run a little bit over, but hopefully that was valuable. Thank you everyone for joining, and we look forward to having you next time.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for your time. Thanks, Lyndon.
Thanks.
Have a great day, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.